drawing out an idea from my last video about how reality is the communion of persons in love. Right now, we are all distinct, isolated people living in very different, isolated worlds. Because as Luke Thompson talks about very, very nicely, our world is shaped so much by our perception. So one leads to the other. Our being distinct, isolated people, distinct ideas, we live in different worlds. Anyway, because of this, communication is really difficult and painful, and there's a lot of misunderstanding. And when I say something, you're not the same person as me, and the world that you see and interact with is fundamentally, therefore, not the same world as I see and interact with. And when I use a word, I mean something that can be totally different from, so it's just a lot of misunderstanding. And we all know this is a problem, right? But the shortcut that fallen humanity tries to do, that fallen humanity has always tried to do, but in modernity, this is just, what's the word? It's going up, it's faster, it's more than accelerated and intensified, is that to discern wrongly, to say, the problem here is the distinction. The problem is that we are not all the same person living in the same world. So this totalitarian, kind of flattened, kind of, in René Guénon's terms, thank you, René, reign of quantity. Everybody go read The Reign of Quantity and the Signs of the Times. Anyway, the idea is to make us each the same person, to shove us all into the same world in the sense of absolute identity. Not like a harmonious chord, but just one tone. And that's the error, because really the problem is not the distinction, the problem is the isolation of ourselves and therefore of our worlds. So we should all continue to be our unique and distinct and individual selves in communication with each other, against each other, moving sometimes through difficulty and pain and misunderstanding, but moving into not this absolute flat identity, but communion. And that kind of union, a gestalt, a whole that is made of distinct parts but greater than its parts, fused but not confused. Harmony, I think, is really the best way to grasp this. Because as George MacDonald recognizes, you can't have oneness without at least two distinct things to be one. And a lot of harm and a lot of obscuring of reality and twisting of reality and hurting people has come from misunderstanding oneness. And I think in Christian terms, the Trinity is the expression of this, that the one God exists to the extent that he exists, in the sense of manifests, and exists. I suppose you shouldn't really say, God exists as a communion of persons, always. That's the way, as Jonathan Pageau says, that reality lays itself out. There is no other way. So, there's no shortcut. to looking at the world around you and looking at the people around you and recognizing that they are distinct from you, and working out how you fit together, how you fit together instead of projecting your individual and isolated self on other people, which just leads to more isolation.